In his famous book, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, John Gray talks about the key differences between men and women. He outlines that men and women are essentially very different psychologically to the point where they operate metaphorically on their own planet, dealing with problems very differently. As a long-term relationship counsellor, he outlines the key differences between the way in which men and women both respond to stress and deal with stressful situations. So this got me thinking. Investing can be a very stressful thing to do, as well as most things when it comes to managing money and personal finance generally. We don't talk about it enough, we don't learn about it at school, so we're all just trying to learn as we go. When we think of popular investors, the vast majority look the same. Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Bill Ackman, Peter Lynch. Sorry guys, but putting you all together in a room would be like how I imagined my local bingo hall.
Daddy's bedtime, it's just gone 6.
The only modern exception I can think of is Cathie Wood, who shot to fame over the last couple of years, leading her hedge fund ARK Invest to a multi-billion-dollar position. This then begs the question. Although there are a lot more men in the investing world, and certainly who find it of interest, just looking at my YouTube analytics will tell you that, are men better investors than women? Or are we just loads of overconfident, arrogant idiots who have no idea what we're doing? Or maybe option 3, maybe somewhere in the middle. In this video, we need to look at the evidence, and surprisingly, there's been plenty of studies done on the subject. Turns out that I'm not the only one who thought of this question. Once I've done that, I'll take the time to review, and I think you'll be very surprised by the results. Looking at evidence is important, as if you just went up to all of you and said, "Are men better investors than women?" you'd probably just say yes. In fact, it's just something built into our nature, known as the superiority bias. There's a funny study that was done back in the 1980s that asked people to rate their own driving abilities. 160 students in the US and Sweden were asked to rate their own driving abilities compared to other people. And here are the results. For driving skills, 93% of the US sample and 69% of the Swedish sample put themselves in the top 50% for safety, 88% of the US and 77% of the Swedish put themselves in the top 50%. As you can quickly work out, everyone thought they were a lot better than average, which is just not possible at all when you realise that's not how averages work. This leads us nicely onto our first study. How does our confidence in our own ability affect our performance? And most importantly, is this different depending on whether you're a man or a woman? In their study named Boys Will Be Boys, Barbara and Odin looked at the trading behaviour of men and women who were investing their money. In summary, they found that due to men's tendency to being overconfident, as established in other studies, this led them to make more mistakes in their investments. Firstly, they overestimated their possible returns and overweighted their own understanding of the companies they were looking at. They trusted too much too quickly and acted irrationally. Secondly, after being overconfident, the men took more trades, incurred more costs, greater risks, which ended up reducing their overall gains. In number terms, men traded 45% more frequently than women, and their average performance was 0.94% less annually than their female counterpart. These kind of results are not just found in one-off studies taken many years ago though. If we dive into something closer to home, a study in 2018 from the Warwick Business School looked at 2,800 different investors across 3 years. The study looked at multiple different behaviours of the men and women, and here are the results. In summary, the key differences were men traded more than women did, which matched the study we just talked about. Men traded 13 times a year, whereas women traded 9. And secondly, the types of investment men chose were very different to women. In Professor Stewart's own words, the tendencies displayed by people such as investing in more speculative stocks and not wanting to let go of shares showing a loss are no real surprise. He goes on to say that men are just a little bit more likely to be drawn to more speculative stocks, whereas women are more likely to focus on shares that already have a good track record. Guys, this is not looking good right now, and we're down 2-0. I thought we knew what we were doing. Okay, so what? Men trade more than women, speculate a bit more, and miss out just by a little bit each year. Surely that can't be too harmful for long-term investors. Well, let's just take a look at that assumption. Hargreaves Lansdown did a study recently looking at this very issue and working out the true cost of behaving like a man. Analysis of Hargreaves Lansdown clients reveals that in the 3 years from August 2014 to August 2017, women outperform men by an average of 0.81%. If that performance was replicated over 30 years, women would end up with a 25% larger portfolio. Let's run those numbers. Apparently, the average pension pot is around £61,000 if invested by a man. Well, adding on another 25% gets us to a much healthier £76,000. That's an additional £15,000, a huge amount of money. If you wanted to draw down £5,000 a year on top of a state pension, you could retire a few years early. Secondly, more money in funds. 44% of women versus 38% of men, so better diversification. Women trade 49% less frequently than men for shares and 67% less frequently for funds. And finally, more women use the ISA than men, although a lot more men invest. 65% of women who do use tax-efficient accounts versus 58% of men. Got to step your game up, guys. Overall then, we can see a clear distinction between the way men invest and women invest. I think it's clear to see that women are better investors than men. If you want to get more money as a long-term investor, you need to work with your better half to improve your results. So in summary, what can we actually learn from all of these studies to improve our own trading? Well, clearly we've seen some key themes here from this research I presented here, and it's very common amongst the rest of the studies I read but haven't covered here. The major key themes are, number one, overconfidence in your ability and understanding. I'm not sure there's much we can do about this other than making you aware of it. William Bernstein, who's the author of books including the Investor's Manifesto, suggests a self-administered test question. How certain am I of what I'm doing? In finance, if you're certain of anything, you're out of your mind, he said. Maybe use that as a test the next time you're about to make a trade. Question everything and assume you've made a terrible mistake. Number two, trading too much. This one keeps coming up time and time again, is another deeply ingrained part of human behavior, chasing profits on the way up, trying to time the market and panic selling on the way down. We know we can't do it, so we just need to do our best to stop. And number three, trading too much obviously leads to higher fees, being out of the market and certainly trading with a lot more emotion. One of the best ways we can counter this is by taking emotion out of the equation. How about just investing monthly, every month, into a low-cost index fund covering most of the world? What else can we learn from these results? Well, let's be honest. We need to address the wider issue that we need to get more people educated about money and investing generally. Personal finance has to be on the curriculum at school, even just the basics. We also need to be able to openly talk about money and investing, and I hope I can at least do my part to contribute to this. Make talking about money and investing the same as talking about the weather in the UK. If we did this, we'd all be in a much better place. Finally, as much as these studies are impressive, they highlight a stark image that there are just not enough women investors overall, and they've been shut off from this strange black box industry with complex terminology and the fear of losing money. If we could all harness the power of each other's strengths together, we could become much better investors and help each other out. We can't have 50% of the population outside looking in. That's where we all need to help each other out. 97% of you out there who watch my videos are men, and it's our responsibility to get more women involved in the space. So if you do anything tonight, talk to your girlfriend, partner, wife, or even kids and get the discussion about money and investing back on the table. Anyway, I really hope you've enjoyed the video today. Drop me a big fat like if you have, it really helps out small channels like mine. Subscribe for many, many more. I'll see you guys in the next one. And until then, as always, happy investing.